So, do you have any stories? Do you have any stories that you can share without? You can always share about my kids because I do that. but do you have any stories like anything that's made you laugh recent or something super frustrating?
I don't have any stories necessarily, but I find that I'm laughing every day. A lot of the things are just kind of like little one-off, and now that I'm on the spot also, I can't really think of anything.
What?
That's all right.
Why would you feel? We're totally nice. It's just your boss and one of your friends.
Yeah. Is this a deposition or what? I feel like
And it's being recorded.
And it's being recorded. Who knows? We'll probably have 50 viewers.
No, but that is true what Sam is. Every single day, enjoying his job, coming to work with a smile, and always, and that's the thing that we've talked about before too, in a school environment and a school culture, is that you really have to have people like Sam who truly believe in the mission that all students can and will learn, period. And that's a challenge for a lot of places in education because not everybody thinks that way or sees it that way yet. They still say, that's your kid, that's your kid, that's your kid, not that's our kid, and we want to include those kids. So Sam is completely philosophically aligned with our mission to make those things happen. And so he's a happy camper. And he does all kinds of crazy things, so don't let him fool you. The puns that he comes up with.
Oh, I like puns.
Are
Puns
hilarious.
are good.
I think, I was going to say something. And then I started thinking about puns. I only work 3 days a week. I have Monday, Thursday, and Friday. So
Perfect.
that's
That
the
sounds
way.
good.
Yeah.
I would have, I don't want to know.
true.
So I got to tell you, one of my favorite things about Sam, Mr. K, is that I as a parent, it is really neat to be, I obviously want him to focus on my child and stuff, but I know whenever I go into his classroom that, not that he totally drops 100, everything and stuff and ignores all the kids, but I feel appreciated as a parent, and so thank you very much because I think that's really important. It's part of any parent wants to feel comfortable in their child's environment that they're in all day, but especially the parent of children with challenges, to be able to walk in and know that I'm appreciated or feel like I'm appreciated. I don't know if I really do appreciate it. You have to say.
I have to.
I know.
He's joking. But that, again, comes with the culture and climate of a school, is that you have to be able to have that. It's a village mentality so that everyone understands that there's that collaboration piece that has to take place between the teacher, the child, the administration, the parent, the gen ed teacher. It takes the entire village to have that. That belief, and you can feel that when you're in certain schools because you do have the freedom to communicate that way. And that's another thing that I know we've mentioned over and over again. You have to have that culture and climate built in order to have that village mentality.
Yeah, and I think input and buy-in's not the right word, because from the parent they've bought in, but I feel appreciated by you, which makes appreciating you a lot easier. So I do think that there being a sense of so your input has helped me create the goals for your children, and the input is not it's this way or no way. It's your input and then my observations reflecting inputting into your input to kind of give us a sense of where to go. It creates a path because the path is not a straight line from Ben in kindergarten to Ben being an 18-year-old graduating high school. The path is this way. And so you know, every day is different with all children, but especially with children that are just, you know, struggling to make sense of the world around them because they
have challenges.
they have
yeah.
challenges, and they are developing context for every day as they're learning, because, you know, not every day can be the routine that they might want it to be.
Right.
And so there being flexibility in the way forward and being able to move off of, create a new path as we go, I think is really
And that's,
important.
you can't be rigid.
Right.
You have to be able to have that wiggle room both ways.
Right.
Because you know strengths
Right.
that we
Right.
don't see.
Right.
Right.
And vice versa.
Right.
So it's important for us to always have that
Right.
collaboration. to
And
be able
sometimes
to-
we have different
Yeah.
different children.
Yeah.
Your child is maybe different as a student than at home.
Thank God.
I'm sure many parents can relate to
I
that.
know. I know my kids, and I know their strengths, and I know their challenges,
Yeah.
and so all of them, Eric
Yeah.
on down,
Yeah.
you know, and so I am glad that Ben hasn't thrown anything at you today.
No.
That happened this morning a couple times.
Oh, yeah, no. Ben's more like, I'm trying to eat my lunch, and he was in there, and he just comes up and starts like tapping on my computer. And
We were just
Stinker,
talking
I
about that.
know. We were.
With him in
He's-
technology.
He has a problem.
He likes that
Yeah.
He's a
technology.
12-step.
he was like picking at my broccoli. I said, eat it if you want. I don't think you're gonna like it.
Don't tell him you don't think he's gonna like it. We have broccoli a lot at home.
Oh,
That's yummy
That's
stuff.
actually that's the go-to veg at our house.
oh no kidding.
Honestly, yeah, my kids like broccoli better than carrots.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think it's just because I make it all. Maybe I make it good.
You must make good
I make
broccoli.
good broccoli. I don't know.
The
Try
best.
some.
It's yeah.
The best broccoli. That's actually what he said. He said, "Oh, Mom didn't make it. I don't want it."
That's it. So I know one of the things that I try to do as a parent for all the teachers, but specifically you, Sam, and whoever's hanging out with my kid, is to communicate, like, bringing up, you know, like how has Jillian's morning been, or Ben's morning been. So I do have a little what kind of books are those?
Communication books.
Yeah, it's a communication book, but I just use one of the
composition books.
composition books. Yeah, and I use it as a communication book. I like those books because the pages don't fall out.
Yeah.
Actually, it's something I learned with foster care, writing notes in there, that if you're keeping track of a child, always use a composition book, because if somebody tears out a page, it's obvious. You can see it.
That's
So,
right.
anyways, so that's just a little thing.
It's a good tip.
Yeah, it's a good tip. So use a composition book. But I do every morning. I write just a little thing about their morning, because I want you guys to know how things have been,
Yeah.
and whether it changes. Miss Mary, the bus driver, can usually get things turned around for Ben. But you know, anyways, I think I'm just rambling now. So
No, that's good. I think that
Communication is key.
communication and letting students that may have a harder time behaviorally in school, following the rules or meeting expectations of what they need to do in school. I think it's important to understand, what they're coming to school with when they arrive here. If they maybe didn't eat breakfast, or woke up late, or woke up
Grumpy.
stuffy, or didn't sleep well, those kinds of things, or sometimes even like gassy,
yeah.
like super gassy.
Yeah.
Well,
He already had 4 dirty diapers this morning. Good luck.
Hopefully it's all gone.
Thanks, Cindy.
but we do appreciate those heads up, because then we can gear our day
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah.
too.
Right, I
So-
would want to know. I would
Yeah.
totally want to know. And the other thing is Ben can't communicate.
Right.
And even if he was trying to communicate, it's really hard to understand
yeah.
him. And so same with Jillian. Jillian doesn't think to communicate things, and so with Jillian, I do a lot of reminding her to tell a teacher something, or to give a student something.
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, and then vice versa, the school sends back, they write little notes in those books to me,
Yep.
so that when we are sitting around the dinner table and I say, how was your day today? Ben says, I go to PE every day. On church Sundays too, he goes to PE. But I can see what his day actually looked
Yeah.
like, and then we can develop those conversations and help that communication skill.
Right, and that creates, context, which I had mentioned before, and just the ability to relate what's happening in your life. Those are important life skills, and when in a self-contained classroom, the day tends to be the same, it can be really hard to have somebody expand on, what their day was like, because
Yeah.
we were in
It all
Miss-
looks the same.
we were in
So-
Miss Johnson's class all day
Yeah.
today, and I did math at some point, and I did reading at some point. Whereas in the gen ed class, there's different markers throughout the day where they have transitions, and
They can associate.
yeah,
that.
and they're developing new ideas of what it means to move around, which is another thing. Another important life skill is transitions, relating to what we had talked about earlier in the conversation. Is, transitions are a huge frustration for certain students or
Right.
certain people, and the more transitions, the better.
Have
Not
to
so
stop
much
and
so,
switch.
but
Yeah, stop
Switch
what you're
gears.
doing and do something else. And I know Jillian used to hide under tables and stuff during that. Now she's gotten better.
Yeah, she's
So-
doing great.
She's doing good. That's good. So, from a parent, is there anything that, for all the parents that are watching out there, what can we do to help make your job easier?
Coffee?
Lots and lots of coffee.
Coffee. I usually drink it all before I.
I think, I don't know, it might be a loaded question, but honestly, I think having healthy expectations of the ability of your child is probably number one, because that frames everything going forward, and that frames every decision that you make, because, it especially as a child gets older, depending on the ability level of the child, the skill gap is going to get wider.
Right.
And, it can be really difficult to overcome that, especially if a child is transitioning from, a self-contained class into a gen ed class, or even for somebody like Ben, who we're working really hard on giving him the math and the reading skills that he needs. But when he's in fourth grade, I don't know if he's going to be doing fourth grade level work.
Right.
But if the expectation is that he's in his seat working on what he's able to work on at the appropriate times, like if he's working on reading during reading time and math during math time, and then as he gets into, departmentalized, maybe in sixth grade, if we can find science activities that he's able to do, and
Right.
social studies activities that he's able to do, if he's working at a second grade level, but he's doing those activities at the correct time, I think that is, to me, that was kind of what I learned inclusion was giving as close to what the rest of the kids
So
are.
modifying what the other
Modified,
kids are doing.
yeah.
So kind of like when Jillian, when the fourth grade last year did the Arizona Regions project, and Jillian, they all did the history and the flora and the fauna and what the terrain was like and all that kind of stuff. Jillian just got to do the plants and
Right.
and then having that modified, but she still stood up in front of everybody and she still presented.
And that's the skill that we want her to take away.
Exactly.
Because, I don't see how knowing what the different regions are of Arizona are going to help her in 10 years
Exactly.
when we want her to be working. Unless she's working for the Park Service or
Yeah.
something like that. But I mean,
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah,
She could
who
do
knows?
She
anything.
could do anything.
We set our sights
Yep.
high.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, realistically, like the important thing is that she's able to stand in front of a group of people and talk to people. I
Right.
think because that is in, many jobs that she's going to be able to do. That's what's going to be important for her is being able to answer questions.
Communicate and
Communicate
interact.
and interact, exactly.
Yep.
And have confidence in her communications.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
when you're able to stand up in front of people and you're comfortable, you gain confidence.